Well, hello everyone. It's Kat Sticker and welcome to Soul Shift Saturdays. I'm coming on a little bit later than my normally scheduled time, but as you know, it's been kind of off and on. The Saturday is really hard for me because I have a lot going on Saturdays. So maybe I'll move Soul Shift Saturday to 6 p.m. Central Time because that seems to be a better time for me than 4 p.m., which is kind of the middle of everything. Well, I am coming to you today. First of all, welcome to Soul Shift Saturdays. We are streaming live on Facebook in our Soul Shifters Guild Facebook group. Come on over and join if you haven't already. And also on the Moonglow Life YouTube channel and on our Moonglow Life Twitch channel. So welcome from all of those places. And if you're joining us, let me know where you're from. All right, today on our show, we're going to be talking about embracing pivotal moments. And what are pivotal moments? Well, those are those big life-changing points. And how can that affect us in our body, mind, and spirit? Especially if you have multiple big life changes in 1 year, in one time frame, that can be very stressful on us. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today and what we can do to alleviate any what can we do to alleviate the symptoms that we might have from that, or speed up the change curve. So I'm going to run this ticker. You may have a change of job. What about a change of marital status? You get divorced or you get married. So even if a change is positive, has a positive impact on you, it can still be very stressful. Think how stressful getting used to a new spouse, someone new living in your home is. Think about a retirement. You have a whole change in lifestyle. You might be happy to retire, but then, what are you going to do? It's a big change for you. Also, having a new baby, another positive change. Welcome, new baby. Yet, how stressful is that on a new parent? Any kind of change in your spiritual life. Say you went through a dark night of the soul. Think how stressful that is. Maybe leaving your home and moving to a new place. That's a tough one. Having to actually pack and move and get in the new place, or selling your house. That's very stressful all around because of the timing. You may have health changes. Maybe you got sick, or you're worried about getting sick with the COVID, or you've had an injury, or maybe a severe injury that's changed the way you have to live your life. Maybe you lost a limb or something. Those are big life pivotal moments, and how we react in those moments, or it may not be just that 1 second, but for months afterwards, for years afterwards, how is that going to affect your life? What if you have a change in financial status, like you went bankrupt? Or what if you won the lottery? And that's a positive one, right? Now you're a millionaire, but that's still very stressful. Then you got to learn how to manage that money. Or making a big investment, like I said, buying a house, buying a car, just anything, maybe investing in college for your kids. All of those things cause stress because they're big changes for us. So how does the body react to those kind of changes? We're going to talk a little bit about our body's response. And I already have a lot of comments. Let me see. Hey, Sharon, I'm so glad you joined today. You keep getting cards. CGH is happening and success is coming. Wow. Well, I'm glad success is coming. And yes, how we react matters. And we're going to be talking a lot about how we can react, or even be proactive instead of reactive, to these types of changes that are pivotal moments. Now, some of the some of the changes that our body can go through is when we have a big change, our brain processes that like one of those flight or fight responses where you get a release of adrenaline and cortisol, and that helps you to protect you. Their body, your brain's trying to protect you. But just having those releases can be stressful in the body, and too much of that can actually affect your cholesterol, raising your raising your bad cholesterol and lowering your good cholesterol. And of course, that can lead to heart disease. And of course, we're talking about a prolonged period of stress. But as you know, we all go through multiple changes in our lives, and sometimes they're all grouped up in a period of time. Like you might have a year where there's multiple changes going on in one year. I know I have had some really bad years sprinkled in where I had, a death in the family, change of a job, having a divorce, all that stuff in one year, and that can really start weighing in on you. It can start breaking you down. And a lot of times when we have stress, we kind of start picking up bad habits to try to cope. We may not, if we're not conscious, if we're not really deliberate, maybe we'll start, this is me, maybe we'll start stress eating and turn to the comfort foods and maybe even binge eat, or maybe it keeps you up at night and you develop these bad sleep habits where you're not sleeping well, or there could be like drinking or just withdrawing and not wanting to go do any kind of exercise or activities, or withdrawing from your social group and then not having that network of support. There's a lot of ways that we may be reactive to the stress that makes it actually hurt us more. And also too much stress, that can lead to having a lower immunity. I know we've talked about this in the past, and then you risk getting sick. So there's some tips to beat these stress effects. And one of them is, be aware about developing those kind of bad habits and just resist instead of choosing the comfort food every day. It's okay to have that once in a while, but let's start thinking about a healthier diet plan, maybe one that combats stress. Also, getting enough exercise, making sure we're getting the right amount of sleep, that kind of self-care. And then hobbies. You'd be like, why would I think of hobbies at a time when I'm moving or whatever, getting a divorce? That's not a time to do hobbies. Well, maybe not, or maybe it is. And if there's a hobby that can relieve some of that stress, even if it's like an online game or something like that you can do for a little while, maybe even only 20 minutes a day, and that actually helps to de-stress you, it's okay to do that. Staying in the present moment. Now, maybe being too much in the present moment, you have to plan ahead and everything, but that's part of kind of grounding, and it can help you to deal with the stress as it comes. As those waves of overwhelm come, you can just be here in the moment and look around the room, use those senses, use your 5 senses. What are you feeling? What are you smelling? What are you tasting? Get your hands in the dirt, doing gardening or something that can help to relieve that stress. Also, journaling, if you like to write. If you don't like to write, journaling may be stressful for you. But journaling can be a release. So that's one tip. And then just any kind of high vibe activities. And we've talked a lot about high vibe activities on this show, and things that uplift you, basically. The essential oils, the crystals, the anything from nature, taking a nature walk, taking a salt bath, like all those good things, meditating, doing some yoga, deep breathing, all of those things are high vibe activities, and maybe even listening to some soothing music. Also, there's something called brain breaks, and that's kind of where those hobbies come in. Like I was saying, just take a brief break and let your mind do something else. Focus on something else, maybe that doesn't take a lot of thinking power, to give your brain a break, give it a rest. Those can be helpful things. Yeah, take your mind off of it for a little while. Now, you're not going to forget about these major things that are going on in your life, right? It doesn't mean you can't take a little break. And sometimes, for instance, when we have maybe a relative who's sick, or someone who needs our attention, or something that needs our attention, you feel guilty about taking a break from it. You feel guilty. Don't feel guilty, because that will still be there for you, and you'll have plenty of time to focus on it. Don't feel guilty about taking a little break for yourself so that you can be better for them. It makes you better. So let us know your best ways of coping with stress. And you can type it in the comments, or talk about it on the Soul Shifters Guild Facebook group. All right. So another thing I want to talk about briefly is this change management curve. Now in business, we talk about the change management curve whenever we have change at work. Maybe we're implementing a new initiative or new policy, or having a layoff or something, and we want the employees to be able to deal with that. But you can refer to this change curve. It's the same in your personal life. And I want to share my screen. Hold on. I got a screen share, you guys. Oh, for goodness sake. Where is... That's not what I want to share. Hold on. I can see it here. So maybe what I'll do, I'm sorry about that little delay here. Trying to share my screen. I'll just share my entire screen. Oops, that's not what I want to do. All right, here you go. Hopefully you can see this. Now this is what we call the change management curve. And hold on. All right, yeah, you can see that. All right, the change management curve. This is where the status quo is without a change. When the status quo ends, there's a time when you're like in denial about the new thing that's happened. Say it's a job loss, or maybe you're going bankrupt, or something bad. There's a point where you're in denial about what's happening. Maybe even it's a good thing, like you're getting married, but you're in denial about the changes, the compromise you're going to have to make in the marriage, to be, to share your life that closely with someone. There's a lot of things that go on in any amount of change, where you might at first, you're just saying, oh, that's not going to happen, or you don't believe that it's happened, or there must be a mistake. And then quickly you go into shock, where you just maybe don't feel anything. You're kind of numb about it, and you feel like you should be having a reaction, but you don't have the reaction yet. And so a lot of times denial and shock don't last very long before you go into stage 2, where you experience the disruption. Although it can be, the denial and shock can linger. And then when you get to disruption, that's where you start really going downhill, and you start having anxiety, fear, anger, frustration. And in this part, you can have all that stress can lead to anxiety and depression. And you may get stuck in a little spiral here, where you try to move forward, but you kind of keep falling back. into sadness and fear before you can move forward. We want to start moving into stage 3, the exploration stage, where we can get creative about our situation, where we start thinking about what this could mean if we approach it the right way. And then we can start having acceptance of what's happening. And once we've accepted the situation of the way it is, we can develop that hope through the creativity. We can develop the hope for the future, because maybe we're thinking of a way out, or you start getting excited about the new stage instead of being really resistant to it. This first part is resistance, and this second part is the stage 3 and 4 is where you're moving forward with your life, and maybe you're embracing the change at this point. Maybe you've made it better. You're thinking of ways that your life could be different and moving on. And if you approach it with enthusiasm, then you start having a new beginning in your life. And it can take any amount of time to get through these stages, and you may go back some, move forward some, until you get to the next part. It could take even years in some cases. But what we want to do, let me try to move to this other screen, hoping you can see this. What you want to do is be able to take some action instead of letting all this happen to you. Take some action to move forward a little bit more quickly. Accelerate your change through that curve to get out of the negative part and more into the positive part. So that's the change management curve. And I'm going to stop that screen sharing now. So what are some ways we can accelerate the curve? We have to take responsibility by being able to recognize the change. And now, after I learned, like, took some change. Okay, looks like I'm back. I hope you can see me. Sorry about that. I must have had some low internet. I see I only have one dot on my broadcast. Oh, I'm back up to 2 dots. I don't know why it faded in and out. I haven't moved. Sometimes it does that. I'm on wireless. Sorry, I'm keep freezing there. One of the things that that you can do to recognize the change to help yourself understand where you are in this curve. So just by knowing about the curve and the different stages, you can tell where you are and start thinking about that more rationally instead of letting your emotions run your life. And you can give yourself some space because, for instance, when you're in stages of grief with the loss of a loved one, that's something that takes time to get through. There's no sense in rushing that because you need to honor your feelings at that point. But you can manage that a little bit if you understand stages of grief, if you understand stages of change, you can start managing that. And so I don't have the stages of grief graphic today. Maybe we'll do that on another show because that's like a whole topic by itself. But just knowing that the curve does work in your favor because there's a way through, and you know there's a way through, right? There's always going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes we get bogged down in there and it's hard to find that light. And so anytime we can be the light for others at the end of the tunnel, I encourage you to do that because everyone needs that to see that light at some point, needs a little push through the tunnel to get there. when we're going through some tough times through a curve. And people may feel like, I shouldn't be feeling like this if it's a positive change. Like, for instance, with having a new baby, and you hear about like that postpartum depression or trouble adjusting, and you're like, everybody expects me to be happy right now, and why am I crying all the time? That can be the truth in any change, new job or anything, where this should have been a really positive time, but I feel overwhelmed. Give yourself some space and realize you're going to get through it, and it's going to get better, and then it's going to be fantastic. So tell us how you deal with change. I'd like to know. Now, also, when you have too many changes at once, that, like I mentioned earlier, that can increase your risk of depression. And depression is very serious when it gets to that point. Now, it doesn't mean that you will have depression if you have too many changes, but there's just a higher risk that it could happen. And grief takes time to heal. If you can think of life as being cyclical, and you're going to go through these changes, and even though when you know that life is cyclical, it's still hard to get through some of these times that are so sad, that break our hearts when we have heartbreak, changes that result in heartbreak. But that's where our spirituality can come in and really save the day. Because if you can connect with spirit, and you embrace the spirituality and understanding that life is cyclical, that you can rise above the fray of, I'm back. I can tell when it goes off because my screen gets black too. When you rise above the fray and you get above that, that is when you can start pulling yourself back together. Now, also, you have to be willing to go through a metamorphosis and change. If you want to stay stuck in the previous state, in that status quo before the change, it's going to be harder for you to move through the curve. You have to be willing to make a change, and you don't have to be dragged through it. Make a plan, take control of that as much as possible, and have that willingness of what can be the next stage of your life, what's a new era. And try not to lump all of the pain together. When you go through too many changes in life at once, that can be very overwhelming. But if you treat them each separately, each one by itself is not so overwhelming, right? And also that gives you a chance when you have losses to honor that loss, whether it's the loss of a loved one or loss of a job, loss of income, whatever it is. You can take the time to honor that loss instead of just saying, oh, I'm caught in a snowball rolling downhill. I have some comments here. I'm willing to change. Some people say they're willing to change. Some people say change is hard. And Sharon says, you keep freezing. I know I do. My thing does keep freezing. Sorry about that. It's that for some reason my internet picked this moment to have a pivotal change and go out. I don't know why. But anyway, if you can honor those endings separately, that will make it a little bit easier for you. Now, if you feel like it's too much, start reaching out to others in your community, even if it's just an online community. When I say just an online community, to me, I connect a lot more deeply with my online community than my community here in person. I don't even know my neighbors. I know that's sad. That's the world we live in, where people don't trust or want to connect in person to their neighbor next door, but they have deep friendships on the internet. It makes it easier to connect using technology sometimes. But if not, there's if you're the more of an extrovert who likes connecting in person, I'm a little bit more of the introvert type, but if you like connecting in person, then do that. And as the world moves through some of this pivotal change that affected the whole world, think about COVID. That's a pivotal change for the whole world at once. Sometimes those big ones like war, pandemics, those things that affect the whole world, everybody's going through the same thing at the same time, and it can create actual community around that, rallying to support each other during the change. And so there are groups that you can get in, and so reach out to a support group for your particular issue that you're going through. Or you may need professional help if you're going through depression, and you should definitely reach out for professional help if you have any inkling that you need that, because that is not, as some people may think, a sign of weakness. That is you taking charge of your own health, and that is a positive thing. So do feel free to do that. Also, there's this one thing I found. It's called the Life Event Scale Self-Assessment from Dawn Farm, dawnfarm.org. And I put this little link here. I mean, you can't click on this, but maybe you could write it down or something if you're interested. It's just like a little brief assessment of giving you a score of how many of these events you've had in a year, and that can assess like how much at risk you are for getting sick over stress in your life. I thought that was really interesting. And there are other online self-assessments as well for things like stress and depression. And all you have to do is Google that, self-assessment for stress, self-assessment for depression. And I encourage you to do that to see if you are at risk for one of those things, and make sure that can help you to identify there could be an issue, and you can take steps then to make a plan to do something about it. Now, the last tip I have is to know yourself. The better you know yourself, your own body signals, mental signals in your body of your reactions to stress, and when, like, I know when I'm having emotional issues, right? The easier it is to recognize that you're not coping well, and then to like just take a step back, maybe take some steps to whether it's something with your diet, your sleep, your exercise, or any of these other tips that we've had of high vibrational activities, or reaching out to a mental health professional. If you know yourself, then you won't wait until it's too late. And it's never too late, but you don't want to wait till you're in such a dark place that it's really then hard. It may take years to drag yourself out of that hole, right? Do it as soon as possible. Can I paste it into the comments, the link? Oh, maybe so. Maybe so. Let's see. Oh, that's not it. Yes, I can. Hold on. I got to get it out of my spreadsheet because I did write it down somewhere. Let's see. Here it is. All right. I don't know if you can click on it in the link in the comments, but I will try. All right. I posted that link. It's to dawnfarm.org, the grief and loss handout item. And I didn't want to post the PDF in our group because I'm sure it's copyrighted, and I didn't ask permission to do that. So I'm just putting the link to it so you can go there yourself. Oh, it looks like it posted to YouTube, to Twitch, and I don't know, did it post in Facebook? Let me know. All right. So I don't really have a meditation or anything planned for today, but I will be having one coming up. I don't know what topic I'm going to do next week, but definitely the last week of this month, we're going to do a Samhain celebration on the 30th. And I'll do a meditation. I have a new song that I wrote for to celebrate Samhain, and we'll do something else. I'll do something fun, some fun activity, maybe. I don't know what it'll be, but it'll be something creative because I love celebrating. As you know, we used to have that Soulful Celebration show where we celebrated the different festivals and holidays. We had all kinds of things on there. And that was really fun. So I've always loved celebrations, and we will do something fun. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I love you so much. I'm sending you really good vibes. And if you are in a place where you're going through a lot of stress, hang in there. I promise you'll get through this change curve. And you can always reach out. And we do have a prayer thread, which nobody's posted any prayer requests lately in the Soul Shifters Guild Facebook group. It is pinned. And so I want you to post a new prayer request if possible, if you need one. And I will definitely be praying for you. I love you guys, and have a great evening. Bye.